My name is Margaret Hayes. I'm 65 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew my son when David invited me to move in with him after I retired from teaching. I was grateful. The old farmhouse had become too much for me after your father passed. David's apartment in the city seemed like a fresh start, a chance to be closer to my only child, to help with groceries, to share quiet evenings over tea. David is 42 now, tall, with growing temples and kind eyes that remind me of his father. He works in finance, something with investments that I've never quite understood. He's always been a private person, even as a boy. Thoughtful, careful with his words. For the first month, everything felt peaceful. We'd have breakfast together before he left for work. I'd spend my days reading, walking in the nearby park, preparing dinner. Simple rhythms, comfortable silences. But I began to notice something odd. Every night, precisely at 3 in the morning, I'd hear the shower running. The pipes in the old building were loud, and my bedroom shared a wall with the bathroom. At first, I thought nothing of it. Perhaps he couldn't sleep. Perhaps he had early morning meetings. But it happened every single night. Exactly 3 a.m. I could set my watch by it. My curiosity grew with each passing night. What kind of routine demands a shower at that exact hour? I'd lie awake, listening to the water run for exactly 15 minutes, then silence. Sometimes, I'd hear him moving about afterward, but he'd always be asleep when I woke at 7. One Tuesday night, I couldn't bear the mystery any longer. I waited until I heard the water start. My heart pounded as I crept down the hallway in my robe, feeling foolish, a mother spying on her grown son. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, steam curling into the hallway. Through the frosted glass of the shower door, I could see his silhouette, but something was wrong. He wasn't showering. He was standing completely still, fully clothed, letting the water pour over him. His suit, his tie, his leather shoes, everything soaked. His hands were pressed against the tile wall, his head bowed. And then I heard it, sobbing. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook his entire body. I stepped back, my hand over my mouth. This wasn't about hygiene or routine. This was about pain. I returned to my room, but I didn't sleep. Questions spun through my mind. What could cause such anguish? Why hide it? Why the precise timing? The next morning, David appeared at breakfast as composed as ever. Pressed shirt, calm smile, asking about my plans for the day. I studied his face for signs of the broken man I'd witnessed hours before, but found none. David, I said carefully, are you happy? He looked up from his coffee, surprised. Of course, Mom. Why would you ask? You seem tired lately. Just work stress, he said, that easy smile returning. Nothing to worry about, but I was worried, deeply worried. That evening, I did something I'm not proud of. I looked through his study while he was at work. I told myself I was dusting, organizing, helping. Really, I was searching for answers. In the bottom drawer of his desk, beneath folders of financial documents, I found a photograph. A wedding photo. David in a tuxedo, his arm around a beautiful woman with auburn hair and a radiant smile. The date on the back, June 15th, 6 years ago. David had been married, and he'd never told me. My hands trembled as I kept searching. I found more photos tucked in an envelope. David and this woman hiking, laughing at a restaurant, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. They looked so happy, so perfectly, completely happy. And then I found the divorce papers, finalized 5 years ago. The reason listed, irreconcilable differences. But there was something else in that envelope. A small card, the kind that comes with flowers. The handwriting was feminine, elegant. David, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you, but I couldn't keep living a lie. I hope someday you'll understand. I hope someday you'll forgive me. Rachel, that night at 3 a.m., I didn't just listen. I knocked softly on the bathroom door. The water stopped immediately. David? It's Mom. Please, can we talk? Silence. Then, quietly. Not now, Mom. I know about Rachel. A longer silence. Then the door opened. He stood there, completely drenched, water pooling at his feet. His eyes were red, his face a mask of exhaustion and shame. How long have you known? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. I found the photos today. I'm sorry for snooping. But David, I'm more sorry that you felt you couldn't tell me. He sank down onto the edge of the bathtub, water still dripping from his clothes. I sat beside him, not caring that my robe was getting wet. It's been 5 years, he said finally. 5 years since she left. 5 years since I found out she'd been having an affair with my best friend. With Marcus, the man who was supposed to be my best man. My heart broke for him. They're married now, he continued. They have a daughter. I see their photos sometimes on social media before I can stop myself. They look so happy. And every night at 3 a.m. I wake up remembering the exact moment I found out. I came home early from a business trip and found them together. In our bed. 3 a.m. exactly. Oh, David. So I get in the shower. I stand there and let the water wash over me. And I pretend I can wash away that memory. That moment. That feeling of my entire world ending. But it never works. It never works, Emma. I pulled my son close. This grown man who'd been carrying such weight alone. He cried against my shoulder the way he did when he was small and had scraped his knee or lost a toy. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, because you just lost Dad. You were grieving. How could I add my failed marriage to your pain? So I handled the divorce quietly, threw myself into work, and pretended everything was fine. But it's not fine, no, he admitted. It's not. We sat there as dawn began to break, mother and son, holding on to each other in the steam and water and truth. You know what I learned after your father died? I said softly. That grief doesn't follow a schedule. It doesn't conveniently end when we think it should. But it does change. It becomes something we carry differently. Not forgotten, but integrated. Part of who we are. I don't want this to be part of who I am, David said. I don't want to be the man who showers at 3 a.m. because he can't escape his own memories. Then let's change the story, I suggested. Not by forgetting Rachel or what happened, but by giving 3 a.m. a different meaning. He looked at me, confused. The next night at 3 a.m., I was waiting in the kitchen when he woke. I'd made tea and set out the cards we used to play with when he was young. M.O.M. He stood in the doorway, surprised. New ritual, I said simply. If you're going to be awake anyway, you might as well have company. He hesitated, then sat down. We played cards in the quiet of the night, talking about nothing and everything. About his father, about my students over the years, about the neighbor's cat that kept trying to sneak into our building. We didn't mention Rachel or Marcus. We didn't need to. The next night, he found me there again. And the night after that, slowly, I watched my son begin to heal. Not completely healing isn't a destination, it's a direction. But he smiled more easily, laughed at my terrible jokes, started talking about maybe, someday, trying to meet someone new. One morning, about 3 weeks after our bathroom conversation, David came to breakfast with something in his hands, the photograph of him and Rachel on their wedding day. I'm going to put this away, he said. Not throw it away. That was part of my life, and pretending it didn't happen doesn't help. But I don't need to hide it in a drawer like a guilty secret either. It's just the past. That's very wise, I said. I learned from the best. He kissed my forehead. Thank you, M.O.M., for moving in. For being nosy, he smiled at that. For not letting me drown alone. That's what mothers do, I said. We show up, even at 3 a.m. last week. David told me he'd met someone at work. Her name is Jennifer. She works in marketing, and she loves old movies like he does. They're taking things slowly. No promises, no pressure. Just coffee and conversation. We still meet at 3 a.m. sometimes, though not every night anymore. Some nights he sleeps through. Some nights I wake him for tea anyway. Just because I've grown to treasure that quiet time with my son. Yesterday, he asked me something unexpected. M.O.M., when you saw me in the shower that night, why didn't you walk away? Why didn't you pretend you hadn't seen anything? I thought about it carefully. Because love isn't just about celebrating the good times, I said. It's about witnessing the hard times too. It's about saying, I see your pain, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not going anywhere. That's what your father did for me when I lost my mother. That's what I needed to do for you. David nodded slowly. Jennifer asked me why I get emotional sometimes when I hear running water. I told her the truth about Rachel, about Marcus, about the showers, about you, and she said anyone who's loved deeply enough to grieve that way is someone worth getting to know better. I smiled. She sounds wise. She sounds like you. That night, at 3 a.m., I woke to silence. No shower, no footsteps, just the peaceful quiet of two people sleeping soundly under the same roof. I lay there in the dark, thinking about pain and healing, about secrets and truth, about the unexpected ways we save each other, and I whispered a small prayer of gratitude for curiosity, for courage, and for the chance to be exactly where my son needed me to be, exactly when he needed me there. Sometimes love means respecting privacy, and sometimes it means opening a bathroom door.